I'm going to be a little bit biased. I really think it's a great television show. How many times can I say television show in a row? That's three. Now you're going to have to keep count from here on in. Okay, the show is actually on after The Walking Dead on AMC, so please look at your local listing. It's called Comic Book Men. The aspect of the show is kind of like American Pickers meets Monty Python slash Pawn Stars. It's a very interesting mix and a really enjoyable mix. Um, the thing is, the show takes place in probably one of the best known comic book stores in the world, the Secret Stash in Red Bank, New Jersey, um, owned by said Kevin Smith. Um, this is why I'm biased. I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith, and I'm a big fan of all the podcasts he has on smodcast.com. Go check him out. I'm a huge fan of I Sell Comics, personally. Telling Steve Zave's really good. Not really important to get into that whole thing. Um, but pretty much, you follow the life of men in the comic book industry slash retail market. Why I say this is the manager of the store, Walter Flanagan, uh, is well known for his comic illustrations, doing such books as War of the Undead, Carney, Batman Cacophony, and there's another Batman book he just did, which I completely blanked out. And the bad thing is, I actually own it. Um, Now the thing is uh, with Walt Flanagan, he's a very shrewd businessman. Think Rick from Pawn Stars, but doesn't need as many experts. The cast and crew is a great supporter upon him, but with Walt just himself has a library of comics, which knowledge of comics, which is almost unhuman to the point of kind of creepy. But then again, Walt Flanagan is the man. He knows how to do retail. He knows how to tell people this is the price I'm going to get for it. This is the price I would like to pay you for. And he's also really cool at looking at people and saying, you know what, this costs way too much money for you just to sell it to some yokel. That sounds horrible. To said young man behind the counter, and I don't want to rip you off, which is a very cool aspect where you see shows like, blah 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 blah. What is that? Hardcore Pawn, which I think they're just more willing to just rape you and call you sure. Like this guys will actually look at you and say, you know what, you might want to go to an auction house with this set of comics. The second supporting cast member is Brian Johnson, who is the other half of Tell 'em Steve Daves. Walter is the other half. He is actually not employed at the Secret Stash, where a lot of reviewers are getting that wrong. He's been a longtime friend of Walt Flanagan and Kevin Smith. He also written the comic books War of the Undead and Carney. He directed the film Vulgar. The dude is so quick on his comebacks and snaps, and he's just funny all around. I think he's one of the unsung movie heroes and characters in the world because of him we got a character named Randall from the original Clerks series and Clerks 2, and actually he has a few cameos everywhere. um, Brian Johnson is probably one of the funniest guys in the whole show. um, then there's Ming Chen. He's kind of the newbie comic book man. He's just got back into comic books. um, and tell you the truth, he made the View Askew website. Without him, you wouldn't have gotten like Smodcast and all these shows that actually bring the show together. He's also one half of a awesome podcast, probably one of my has to be number one podcast. I Sell Comics. Um, he's very knowledgeable, and he will flip over backwards to help. Plus, he's the whipping boy to Brian Johnson. And one of the most unsung heroes, I think, of the show, and he doesn't get that much light, but when he does, he is well timed in his knowledge and able to just whip out. I want to say useless facts, but that makes my geekdom hurt because truly, I think there's some amazing facts he has about comic books. And that guy is known as Michael Zapsik. You see, you thought I forgot his name. I didn't. Ha! Michael Zapsik is oddly enough a very interesting individual. He has more comic book knowledge than the people who probably work at DC and Marvel put together. This guy knows storylines that no human should know. And tell you the truth, he is excellent in his timing and quips. He's also very good at just simply looking at someone and telling them the truth. And the great thing is about it is like he'll give a piece of information so fast that hits you, you really don't get time to go, oh my god, that's amazing that he could pull out that information. Because that show moves kind of fast, but not. You round it all out with a guy named Kevin Smith, and blah blah blah. Everyone knows who fucking Kevin Smith. Love him or hate him, he's Kevin Smith. Um, okay, fine. He did Batman Cacophony. He's wrote a whole bunch of comic books. He's starred in many movies. He's directed many movies from Cop Out to Red State to Clerks, Clerks 2, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Jersey Girl, Zack and Miri Makes a Porno. Um, starred in a movie called Live Free or Die Hard. Well, starred. He had a small cameo. Starred in the movie, in my opinion, Catch and Release. It's Kevin Smith. I don't really have to go on. Uh, Pretty much the show premise is pretty good. I like it. I think it really hits that niche nerd culture. And even if you're not a nerd and you just kind of you're dabbling your nerd in, watching The Walking Dead, kind of looking at that Dexter show, and kind of getting into that whole nerd aspect of life. This show's a great watch because oddly enough, people bring in a collection of comic books and they'll give you the backstory, the back history of the comics, which just gets a little bit interested. And tell you the truth, they have excellent picks. ISO Comics definitely goes into it, and I think I just pimped that show out more. Um, Tell you the truth, the one issue I have with the show is the pacing. The third one kind of solved that issue, but the first two are kind of a grinder. It takes a while, but the monotony breaks up a little bit with Brian Johnson. I think Brian Johnson is really good at being a funny man at any moment. Um, and tell you the truth, I think some of my favorite points of the show is just the banter between him and Walter Flanagan, and it's a very amazing show. Um, Again, I might want to pull the dick out of my mouth, but like I said, it's a great show, and definitely for nerd culture. I mean, we don't have too many things that we can look at and say, yeah, that's us. The Walking Dead and the nerd culture has kind of comic book culture has kind of actually grown with the popularity of shows like Walking Dead, comic book movies, and stuff like that. But we're still them, and you hear a lot of grief about them making penis jokes and phallic jokes and stuff like that. And the thing is you can't tell me you and your friends don't act the same way, and you do. Oh, you probably giggle at a lot of cock jokes. I'm sorry, this is what you are. It's funny. I see me and my friends in that scene pretty well. I said we're not owners of comics. We don't run a comic book store. Um, you know, and the stereotypes I think get blown out of the water. I think if you look at half of them, more than half of them, they're all in pretty decent shape. They're all married. They or have girlfriends. They're very knowledgeable in so many different subjects, and it's just pretty much a fun show to watch. If you guys want, go to AMC.com. Actually, to type in first episode of Comic Book Men, and AMC has it for free and a whole bunch of clips from their other shows. You have television on demand; they're all on there. And after the show, go to smodcast.com and actually look at the Comic Book Man after show kind of a podcast. It's pretty funny, and it's interesting. From a big comic book lover To everyone in the Smodcast universe, thank you for all the time you guys shared with me, and I really love your show, and I hope you guys get picked up for 22 seasons, because guess what? This is a show I can look at and say, you hit our culture dead on. And to Michael Zapsik, if you do somehow stumble across this video, thank you for helping out a comic book geek slash foodie with a recipe concept. Thank you so much for dealing with me, and I hope that in the near future you guys have nothing but success. And I Sell Comics is, like I said so many times before me, a great show, a great podcast. Comic Book Men is a great show. I Sell Comics is a great podcast. And the damn computer did this stupid fucking lockup thing.